The recent criticism of Erling Haaland has, in my opinion, been blown completely out of proportion. Hey guys, welcome to the channel, welcome to another video. Yes, today's video going to centre around this man right here, Erling freaking Haaland. Manchester City striker, Norwegian striker, all-round goal machine has been coming under a lot of criticism in recent weeks, recent months, recent games in regards to his overall output. More so for his output when he isn't exactly scoring goals to masquerade his performances when you consider what has been said about him by certain pundits and media outlets alike. I think on Sunday, Roy Keane basically summed it all up by saying he looked like a League Two player. Words to that effect in Manchester City's goalless draw with Arsenal, in which Haaland, thanks to an incredible defensive masterclass from the Gunners, was virtually non-existent within the game. It has led many media outlets and many pundits alike to jump on the claims by Roy Keane and back him up, and also seemingly agree with the former Manchester United midfielder's view on Erling Haaland. But are those comments completely blown out of proportion? In my opinion, they pretty much are for a guy who still sits top of the goal scoring charts this season on 18, 2 goals clear of the likes of your Mohamed Salahs, Dominic Solankis and Ollie Watkins. Anyway, I'm going to be talking about Haaland in this video. We're going to be talking about the Manchester City striker and maybe what is going on at City for him to maybe not be as effective or as dominant or as frightening as what he once was when he first burst onto the scene in the Premier League. But before we get into all of that, I would like to remind you to please like the video and also subscribe if you're new. Both things are always and very greatly appreciated. And of course, get involved in the comment section as well. Let me know what you guys think and feel. Your thoughts, comments, opinions, predictions, feelings, whatever you want to call it will make for great and interesting reading, I'm sure, down below. So please do get involved down there. But without further ado, let's get on with the video. Let's talk Erling Haaland and Manchester City. Look, Sunday, I'll reiterate my point again on this, was a defensive masterclass from Arsenal. They completely nullified and neutralised all of the main threats that Manchester City pose in terms of your Kevin De Bruyne's, your Phil Foden's, and of course, your Erling Haaland's. In an attacking sense, City attempted to break down a stubborn and resolute Arsenal defence to no avail. And Arsenal, had they been a bit more clinical, a bit more decisive on the counter-attack, maybe could have actually got the game won on another day. If this game was to be replayed, maybe they could have actually done better in terms of the counter-attacking aspect. But as we now know it to be, it did finish 0-0. It was a defensive masterclass from Arsenal. Something which they've been criticised for and something which I've addressed in a previous video. Do go back and check out that video if you haven't already. But what came out of the game should have been mainly about Manchester City not breaking down a stubborn Arsenal defence. Now, everyone has off days. Everybody is entitled to an off day. But City have been pretty much perfect for the majority of the reign of Pep Guardiola, with the exception of maybe a season or two here and there. Maybe the first season that Guardiola walked in, and maybe the season that Liverpool won the title. City had been a bit off this season, which is why their Premier League crown and the chance of a four-peat is under serious threat. And again, I've done a video on why I think City's title is under threat in a previous video that I did some weeks ago. So do go back through the channel to find that out. But a large part of it is not necessarily down to City defensively, who, by the way, are probably the most vulnerable that I've seen City defensively. City defensively are still solid enough, but still just not as intimidating as what they were. Teams are starting to have a bit more of a go at them, and that's why we've seen them drop a few more points this season than I think we have, or we've seen teams go at them a bit more and be a little bit less frightened of them than I think we ever have before. It's been the bluntness in attack That's been the issue for City. Not all the time, and, you know, when City are on form and when they're firing on all cylinders, they are still extremely terrifying and will give any defence a run for their money. But so much this season, they've been pretty blunt in terms of killing games off. Still scoring goals, but pretty blunt. The Arsenal game on Sunday, not many teams go to the Etihad and get a clean sheet. Arsenal deserve huge praise for that. Arsenal deserves huge praise for the defensive masterclass that they put together for the trip to the Etihad on Sunday. No doubt in my mind about that. I've constantly stated that and restated that 1,000,001 times between Sunday and today. But City normally find ways to win those kinds of games, especially when they're at home. This season, they've not been able to. And a large part of it is down to, like I say, the bluntness in attack. There have been a few games this season where Erling Haaland has masqueraded a poor performance with a fortunate goal, a penalty, anything like that, really. He hasn't exactly been top quality. And I remember saying when he first came to the Premier League, this guy's a monster in front of goal. Give him half a chance, he'll take it. 9 times out of 10, he will score half chances. Whereas some strikers may need a clear-cut chance to score, this guy only needs half a shot to score. I said his overall play is going to need some work on. Maybe when he's not scoring, needs to help more of his teammates. His overall build-up play may need a bit more work on. But I suspect under Pep Guardiola and with better players around him than what he had at Dortmund, that would come with time. And to an extent, you can see the improvement in certain cases. But a large part of this season has basically been him going a little bit missing. And like I say, masquerading his performances or his performance levels with fortunate goals, penalties, that kind of thing. We saw against Brentford in the 1-0 win that City had where he scored. It was a fortunate slip that allowed him to get on the end of it and to get on the end of the ball, run through on goal and finish the game off. Against Tottenham, he missed a hatful of golden opportunities to put Tottenham to the sword on that day. City should have won. He failed miserably. Against Chelsea in a 4-4 draw. Or in both games of the Chelsea games, I believe. A couple of goals, but they were very fortunate. A penalty which was a bit controversial to say the least, and a goal that he was very fortunate in scoring because I think it came off his backside. There are questions to be asked of Erling Haaland, but I think there are questions to be asked of the likes of Phil Foden's, your Kevin De Bruyne's, your Jack Grealish's, your Jeremy Doku's, your Bernardo Silva's, in that they need to provide for him. This City setup with Haaland leading the line only works if you're going to feed Haaland. Haaland will create, but he won't create to the consistency or frequency of your likes of your Kevin De Bruyne's and Phil Foden's. And I think teams are starting to work that out right now. To call him a League 2 player is disingenuous, and I think it's obviously wrong. And I don't know where the criticism was last season for him, because he was scoring goals last season for fun. He was dominating last season for fun. But we did always see that maybe there are question marks over his overall play, which is why I kept saying, like, don't compare Darwin Núñez to Erling Haaland, because one is a monster in front of goal, but the other will grab you some goals, but he'll also do a lot more than what the other will do. Haaland will get the goals, Núñez will get a few goals here and there, but he mainly will create. And he'll create space for the opposite, for his own teammates. He'll create space for himself. He will create chaos in that back line of any opposition defence to constantly create chances. No point in comparing the two in terms of who's the more clinical finisher. That clearly is Haaland. But Núñez is no slouch either in that department. And we've seen improvement of Darwin Núñez this season. For Erling Haaland, he may not have scored enough goals this season to compare to what he was doing last season, but he is still top goal scorer. He is still frightening. He is still someone that if you allow him any kind of space, he is going to punish you. To call him a League 2 player is utterly disrespectful. It is something that I understand to an extent with the performance of him on Sunday, because it wasn't a good performance from him. And I will say we haven't seen we have seen a few performances like that from the Norwegian striker a few times across this season, in which he's missed a few golden opportunities. Even against Manchester United as another example, he missed that absolute gilt edge opportunity where he put it over from like a couple of yards out on an open goal. He did go on to get his goal later on to properly kill the game off at like 3-1, but at the same time, he still should have had more on that day. We have seen it a few times this season where he should have put away certain opportunities and certain chances, but that's just him. That is just him. He will constantly get into those situations. He'll constantly throw himself around. But the one area I think that he certainly does have to improve upon is the physicality aspect. I'm not saying he's not a physical beast. Only have to look at him to realise he is a physical beast. And the way that obviously he plays, he's not going to be as like delicate as like what Bobby Firmino was for Liverpool. He's not going to be Sergio Aguero, the guy that he was basically trying to fill the shoes of. He is a 6'5" monster. I think he's 6'5". 6'4", 6'5". He's a 6'4", 6'5" monster of brute strength and lightning fast speed. The way that those two combine for him is like an anomaly. It is so rare and so incredible to watch. He is just a freak of nature and incredible. The point is that he's not going to be like those players, but he has to find a way that if he's not scoring goals, if he's being marked out the game, and on the physical side of things, which is where I started this point, if he is being pushed around like he was between Saliba and Gabriel on Sunday, he's got to find a way to adapt his game. He's got to find a way to adapt his game to be like, right, I can't get in behind these guys. These guys are pushing and shoving me. I've got to try and create space for others. He's got to try and be less selfish in that aspect. He's got to try and be like what Núñez is for Liverpool. If Núñez can't get in behind, Núñez will drop. Núñez will drift out wide. Núñez will go towards the ball in order to maybe drag a defender out to create space in behind for someone else. He's got to try and adapt his game to be like that. He's obviously not a League 2 player by any stretch of the imagination. I do feel like the media and punditry pile-on that has happened since Sunday in regards to his performance has been somewhat unwelcome and somewhat a little bit disrespectful and somewhat a little bit harsh for a guy who we know, like I say again, is a guy who thrives off of being fed. He's not going to be the guy to feed anyone else. He's going to be the guy to feast. That is what is best described as Erling Haaland. But I just feel like the media pile-on was a bit disrespectful. Look, City play Aston Villa tonight. He might go and shut them all up by scoring 3 goals. He might go and score the most perfect hat-trick you've ever seen. And we're back with Erling Haaland being one of the best strikers in world football yet again. Because he is one of the best strikers in world football yet again. It's just some of his performances are have been a little bit off this season. And I think that is down to the team. I think that's down to the bluntness in attack. I think that's also down maybe to Pep Guardiola's tactics as much as anything in trying to maybe accommodate for certain players in certain positions, such as maybe Bernardo Silva isn't exactly a right winger. Julian Alvarez, trying to accommodate him to being a number 10 / number 8 / winger / whatever the hell he's trying to produce him to. Maybe there are certain issues with Guardiola's tactics and some of Guardiola's personnel changes in there as well. So I don't think it's all down to Erling Haaland, and I think he is being made a little bit of a scapegoat for obviously Sunday's goalless draw. I think he does need a bit of questioning, but not to the extent of what is going on here. For me, Haaland just needs to find a way to adapt, be less selfish, and to obviously accommodate for the team more. I know that probably isn't going with the philosophy and the overall kind of style of play that Guardiola wants to produce, and maybe he does see Haaland as the complete vocal point to City's attack and to City going forward. But that's maybe just me. Maybe I'm just from the outside looking in, a bit misguided and a bit uninformed of the whole situation. But for me, the overall criticism, totally unwarranted, in my honest opinion. But those are just the thoughts, comments, opinions, predictions, feelings, whatever you want to call it, of this guy. I wonder what you guys think. What do you make of Erling Haaland's recent criticism that he's been coming under from certain pundits and media outlets alike? Let me know in the comment section your thoughts, comments, opinions, predictions, feelings, whatever you want to call it on this particular topic down below. I'm sure it'll make for interesting and great reading. Otherwise, hit the like button on the way. If you enjoyed the video, subscribe if you're new and want to see more content like this. Both things are always done for a greatly appreciated. And as always, thank you all so much for watching and listening. I'm Fletch. This has been another Fletch Talks video, and I'll see you all again soon in another video or live stream or whatever it may be. Cheers, guys. Thanks everyone for watching. Take care. Enjoy the rest of your day. Speak to you all again very, very soon.